And a very good evening and welcome to Irish Whiskey Review Live. It's Saturday night, the 12th of December 2020. And the good news is, Murray, 2020 is nearly over.
Get in! About time too. Whenever they put the clocks back, I had to open another drink. An extra hour of 2020 was more than enough.
Very good. Very, very good indeed. Yes, it's a hard year. It's been a hard year, but we've got lots of Christmas gifts idea that'll take your mind off this year. But
yes, I have been trolling the internet because I haven't been allowed to go around the shops. So I've been trolling the internet looking for inspiration and gifts.
All right. So what's first this week then? Because first off this week we have to do the news, which we call This Week in Whiskey.
This Week in Whiskey. Now, this is obviously my selection of what's been going on in the world of whiskey, and we try and have an eclectic mix, is how we would put it. Justin, what do you think? So, this week there was calls on the Republic of Ireland government to bring in legislation to make sure that all Irish whiskey is made only with Irish barley. Irish whiskey, as we've talked about before, has been given a PGI status, which means it's protected. And there was calls to say that it should only use Irish barley. Now, that was rejected, and I think probably for the better, because once you're only allowed to use Irish barley, you have a very captive market. Now, I have some figures here. A report suggests that 90,000 tonnes of Irish barley is used by distillers, and a further 160,000 tonnes used by brewers. And so 93% of the barley grown in Ireland is used, but the rest sourced mainly from the UK and the rest from Europe. I think that's a good call, because you have a bad season, and let's be honest, Ireland, and certainly going into the future with climate change and so on, we don't know what yields are going to be like. So very quickly, you could have prices
you could restrict yourself so much, couldn't you? You could restrict it so as it makes it impossible to actually do it.
Yeah, you're going to, I mean, you could end up with very, very little usable yield, and people still having to depend on it, and that then pushes prices up. And because of the nature of whiskey, I mean, this delays it for so long. So I'm quite happy to make sure that barley can come from everywhere. I mean, Scotland, it would be impossible for Scotland to grow enough barley to sustain the Scottish whiskey industry. It's just impossible. So why would Ireland then have to be restricted like that? So no, I think it's a good call not to do it.
Okay, absolutely, definitely. So we've a packed show tonight, and Jim Beam's next. What have they been up to?
Jim Beam. Now, Jim Beam is offering a lucky fan the chance to win a socially distanced snow globe experience at their home. Now, it will be 3 individual snow globes, a physically distanced bartender, high quality speakers, and you're limited to 2 cocktails. Now, this is a little mock-up of what the experience would be like. Can you think of anything that looks more miserable than that? Can you imagine you're only allowed 2 drinks? You have to sit in a wee pod outside. You're not actually allowed to interact with anybody, and they think this is a good thing.
Two wouldn't be enough for me, Marty. I'm telling you, 2 wouldn't be enough for me without a doubt.
Justin, I would drink 2 before I go out the door. You know, I would have about half a dozen before Jim Beam got round to me. I mean, Jim Beam is the best-selling bourbon in the world, and that's what they're offering someone to as a prize. It's just depressing, isn't it? I mean, just look at it.
It is. I mean, and there's nobody even in the picture. They think they should have put it up picture posed by models or pre-COVID picture.
It should be something. I mean, it just looks horrendous. I mean, it looks like the most depressing evening you'd ever have. You know, dancing around in your wee snow globe with your 1 cocktail, going, They're sitting in the house.
Hey, here, they're not the only ones to make silly ideas, and it probably originates from the PR people that we love.
Ah, yes, the good old PR people. Now, this one is Diageo. Now, Diageo, who own Rowan Co., Talisker, Johnny Walker, Cardew, etc., right? This week, we're forced to scrap a Christmas marketing campaign. Now, can any one of our eagle-eyed viewers tell me why?
Ooh,
Why would they have to scrap that?
well, is this a spelling bee competition? Is this a spelling bee? Is it?
Yes, Justin. Yes, Justin. Now, the guy who spotted this mistake, he was quoted as saying, "This is as ridiculous as Domino's not being able to spell the word pizza."
It's piazza. I know it's piazza.
Piazza, Bella, all that. No, so they spelt whiskey wrong in Scotland. Now, Diageo, as we know, they own 28 malt distilleries. 28. And they're responsible for nearly a third of the Scottish whisky industry. So, I mean, it's just incredible. What they need to do, Justin, is watch our most watched show, by the way.
It is. It is.
Whiskey with an ear without.
Yes. Yeah. It is.
And so they need to watch that to understand that they made a bit of a boo-boo there, a bit of a faux pas. But one of the things is it's to commemorate the 200th anniversary of Johnny Walker. This year, Johnny Walker's 200 years old, and actually they're even doing a thing in Kenya, because I read this and I wasn't really 100% sure what they meant by this. Kenya Breweries Limited are celebrating the 200th anniversary with a month-long campaign, which will have various activities such as, and I quote, projection mapping at the most iconic locations in Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu. I don't know, what are they projecting? I mean, I don't think Johnny Walker was in Kenya at any point during his life.
Is it not very popular out in those parts? Is it not the sort of thing the old colonials bring out and do? Yeah.
Touchy subject there, Justin. Touchy subject. But no, it's. I just don't know, what are they projecting? Is it just like the image of Johnny Walker or what? You know, it seems a bit odd that they're putting a massive celebration of Johnny Walker in Nairobi. You know.
Well, you never know. Well, we know we have a man in Kenya. We must ask him what the deal is. Ring him up and ask him. Ring him up and ask him.
I'll ring him up. He's actually supposed to be touring around various parts of Africa, but he's stuck in the house in Nairobi because COVID won't let him go anywhere.
Oh, right. So, I know. And listen, this never happened to the wild geese, did it? Never happened to the wild geese.
No.
What's next tonight?
Right. Next is, there has been a slew of new high-end releases this week. Now, last week we were talking about the 2001 Flute cask that is part of the Causeway collection. Now, it was retailing for £200, as I said last week, and it was only going to be available in Great Britain, and it sold out in minutes. Now, £200 a bottle. Dunville's released a 20-year-old on Thursday night, and it sold out in minutes. That was £225 a bottle.
Wow.
Yes, yeah. Yesterday, I was at a whiskey tasting over Zoom, socially distant and all that. Don't be complaining about COVID. For the Friend at Hand, which is the whiskey shop in Belfast. For anybody who doesn't know, all they sell is Irish whiskey, and they're going to have their own single cask Middleton Very Rare. So I was at the tasting. It's good. It's okay. I wasn't bowled over by it, and it's £550 a bottle. It'll be released in January. The Hinch Distillery are releasing a Hinch Chateau de la Lagune, however that's pronounced, which is actually owned by the owner of Hinch, owns that as well. The chateau.
Ooh, 650. Lovely. Can we go there? Can we go there next summer?
Yes. We'll get the vaccine, Justin, and we'll be away. We'll go, because they'll allow us. We'll get a passport stamp to say we haven't got COVID and we can't get it, and we'll go. No, so it's limited to 650 bottles, and it's £249. Bushmills have announced that they're releasing a 30-year-old American oak cask. It's only going to be available at Dublin and Cork airports. There's 100 bottles being released this year and 332 bottles being released next year. It's €700 a bottle. Now you start to see where this is all going. All this high-end, very, very expensive whiskies. I think there's something to be said for it. There's certain people are buying them, but they're buying them to collect them, etc., which is fine. I mean, people do what they want to do. But there's one that caught my eye being released this week. It's from the Neffin Distillery down in County Mayo. Now, they're releasing the Cooper Commemorative Edition. Now, it's 360 bottles, and that's to commemorate their late Master Cooper, John Neely, who worked for a long time at Kilbeggan, and he worked over in Scotland as well. Now, he passed away in 2018. Now, Neffin haven't released any whiskey that they've sourced, or gin, or vodka. They are a whiskey distillery. They are biding their time until their whiskey is ready. So they have, which is to be commendable, because that takes big pockets. They've opened up a cooperage, and that's who they brought over to do it. Now, this, as I say, goes on sale on their website, and half of the profits from this go to John Neely's widow, Liz. So if you're going to buy a high-end bottle to have and keep them on that's maybe a little bit special, that's the one I would say you buy, because at least you're doing some good,
Yes, that sounds quite commendable. My, yes. Is that it for this week in whiskey this week? Yep.
That is this week in whiskey, Justin.
But with other good news, we're wise men bringing gifts later on tonight. But who's our special guest tonight then?
Well, a special guest is a man with one of the best jobs you could probably think of. He's the brand ambassador for Dillon Bass. Now, lots of people up here will have heard of Dillon Bass, but as I say in the interview, he basically is the brand ambassador for Irish distillers, which is Redbreast, it's Jameson, it's the Spot range, it's Powers, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, nice guy.
So basically, they're some of the biggest movers and shakers in the place, right? So we better say hello to some people tonight before we get to Joe Magowan from Dillon Bass. Patrick Mulkey said good evening to you. Julie Mason said hello, evening all. Yeah. Trevor Watson said hi from Bermana, and Michael Matthews said evening lads. It's a grand day so far. Well, it's a long day. Yes, it's been a long day for me, certainly. Very, very long day. Now, say no more. Now, what I want you to do for us is remember to comment, like, and share. Comment, like, and share on Facebook, and especially add us on Irish Whiskey Review on YouTube. It's as simple as that. And if you do want to say hello, all I want you to do is type it in to the comments on Facebook on Irish Whiskey Review, or better still, the comments on Irish Whiskey Review on YouTube. So here's Joe Magowan. We spoke to him earlier in the week. Take it away. Where is he? Has he loaded up yet? He's not loading up for me. He's doing funny things. We'll get him to load up here and see if he'll start for us. There he is. He's loaded. Take it away. And Joe Magowan joins us now on Irish Whiskey Review Live. Marty, what have you got to ask this man? Because a lot's going on down there.
Well, put it like this. Joe is the brand ambassador for Dillon Bass. And some people might not maybe know what Dillon Bass do. They're the brand ambassadors for Irish distillers in Northern Ireland, essentially. So they're responsible for Redbreast, the Spot range, Powers, etc., etc. So he goes around basically showing off whiskey all the time, and very good he is. So hello, Joe, and how are you?
I'm good, Marty. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you. So, what can you tell us in the lead up to Christmas? What is Dillon Bass? What are your whiskey brands doing?
Well, yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head in terms of who we are. So essentially, Dillon Bass is kind of like the Northern Ireland section or wing of Irish distillers. So we would own and distribute all the Irish distillers brands. So I deal kind of exclusively with the whiskies, and you've hit a few of the brands there. So Redbreast would be the biggest brand I kind of do a bit of work with, and then also do a lot with Powers. And then we've also got the Spots, Method and Madness, and the Middleton range. The only difference between us and Irish distillers, we also do a wee bit with Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy brands. So we would distribute the likes of Hennessy and Veuve Clicquot, etc. But we've been flat out kind of in the lead up to Christmas. So obviously this has been a bit of a challenging year in terms of the on-trade being closed and open and closed and open. So a lot of the work we've been doing has been kind of retail focused. So I've been out visiting whiskey shops around Northern Ireland, kind of getting them prepared for Christmas, doing a lot of merchandising work. So if you're out in any independents, or you see me in Super Value or Tesco over the next few weeks, you'll probably see me in a Jameson hoodie putting bottles on shelves. So we're all kind of doing our part, to kind of get the place ready for Christmas. And then also I would do a bit of work kind of backstage, if you want to call it that, from a brand manager point of view, where I would kind of plan a bit of the activity for some of the brands. So been doing a lot of stuff for Redbreast over the last kind of 6 weeks. So we did an online tasting there last Friday, where we had a few different stores involved, and they were able to come online, and I did a bit of an online tasting for Redbreast. And we're also doing a bit of social media activity, so we've got plenty of competitions and ways for Redbreast fans to kind of engage with us. And then if you're driving about Belfast over the next few weeks, you might actually see some Redbreast outdoor advertising, which is the first time we've done that up here. So we've got a few different billboards, 96 sheet and a few 48 sheets scattered around Belfast, which is great. So there's a lot happening with Redbreast anyway. And then, of course, we've had our Middleton 2020 was launched, and then we've got a tasting on Friday for a new single cask. So yeah, keeping very busy.
Yeah. Now, this year there has been some new brand or new versions come out. So you've had the obviously the latest one was the Blue Spot. So how's that going for you? How's that panning out?
Blue Spot, couldn't keep it on the shelf. Most of the customers we've had, when they got their first order in, they were very, very, very quick to ask if they could get a second one. So not a massive amount of it obviously available. It is a smaller release, but the demand for it was extremely high, and the feedback has been really positive. I don't know if you've got a chance to try it yet, but it is an absolutely beautiful whiskey. It's bottled at cask strength, absolutely gorgeous. So I was able to get a wee sip of it myself on launch, and big fan of it. So if you can get a bottle, I would definitely recommend picking one up.
Now the Redbreast is you say that's your big thing. Now, pot still whiskies, a lot of people really still don't understand pot still whiskey, and it's kind of new to them. So we have lots of people now listening or watching in Canada and the US. So give them a better idea of what pot still is.
So basically, single pot still Irish whiskey is a style of whiskey that can only be produced in Ireland. So it is completely unique to Ireland. And what makes it different to most other styles of whiskey is we actually combine malted and unmalted barley together. So, if you were to go to Scotland and you were to drink a malt whiskey, that's going to be made of 100% malted barley. And obviously there is malt whiskey made in Ireland. There's some fantastic malt whiskey, and we do have a bit of malt whiskey ourselves. But at Middleton, we're really more known for our pot stills. So we actually combine malted and unmalted or green barley together in our mash bill, which is what makes it so unique. And then we distill it in copper pot stills. In Middleton, we triple distill all of our whiskies. Pot still doesn't necessarily have to be triple distilled, but ours all would be. So, I think in terms of flavor profile, the thing that people mostly seem to like about single pot still whiskey is first of all, the mouthfeel, particularly on whiskies like Redbreast and Powers. They're really known for their kind of rich, creamy mouthfeel. And then also a bit of a spicy flavor profile as well. So, especially when you drink the likes of a Powers, even the Gold Label, but particularly the likes of the Powers John's Lane, it's known for this what we call pot still spice. So it's really a kind of like a peppery note you get at the front of your palate. And that'll be evident in all of our whiskies and all of our pot stills, but particularly in Powers, it seems to be the one that most people agree has that really rich, creamy, spicy character.
Well, I took a tour group who were supposed to be doing a tour once. I'm letting the cat out of the bag here, Marty. And this is, let's just go and try some whiskey. And this is a big family group. It's a big VIP tour, so they could do what they want. So we rolled into Hastings Hotel. They asked me what we should get. I said, we'll just get some Redbreast. We had several Redbreast. We went back to the ship, and he says, you were great, Justin. Hadn't done anything. Hadn't done anything at all. Nothing.
But the whiskey went down well, obviously.
It went down extremely well.
This is a very common thing for people to say about Justin. You haven't done anything.
If you've served them a Redbreast, that's enough.
Yeah.
Redbreast is a fabulous whiskey. I recommend it to lots of people to try because it's always quality. It's always a quality whiskey. There's other ones, expressions of brands that sometimes are a bit hit and miss, but all the Redbreast are really top drawer.
It's one that I feel like for years we almost didn't know what we had. It's one that we didn't do a huge amount with it, really. I mean, Jameson was the focus for so many years, and I think that was a great decision because now Jameson is, a global brand. But anytime we would speak to people, certainly in my last few years, people would always say, "Oh, you make Redbreast. I love Redbreast. That's one of my favorite whiskies." So it's great now that we actually are able to shout about it a bit more, and it seems to be one of those brands that has so much love and so much loyalty. Like people really, really do love it. And I mean, if I'm honest, most of the time, if somebody says to me, "I like whiskey," and I give them a Redbreast, I'd be very surprised if they say, "No, that's not for me."
Yeah, it's one of those because of the quality of it. It's always going to be good. You're never let down by it, no matter what version of it you get, or whether it's a single cask or any of those. It's always going to be fantastic. Yeah. Method and Madness, the experimental range. Irish distillers, there's lots of experimental expressions now for different cask finishes and so on. But Method and Madness really were the ones who did it first, in my opinion. And they did it in a kind of a very big way with the French chestnut finish. They had the Hungarian oak, etc., etc. So what can we expect from them in the near future?
So Method Madness as a brand, I think, was a brilliant idea because the guys at Middleton wanted to try some new things. They wanted to experiment. And, thinking about it, it wouldn't really suit any of the other brands. Like if we released a Jameson finished in French chestnut or a Redbreast finished in virgin oak, it might not necessarily fit with the brand. So we needed to come up with a new brand that we could release these different expressions under. So the guys made the decision in 2016 to open a micro distillery. So if anyone listening doesn't know what that is, it's really just a smaller distillery. So down at Middleton, we have our regular garden still house where the majority of our pot still whiskey production would take place. And then we have our micro distillery, which is kind of like our wee hub for experimentation and trying new things. So there's been quite a few different releases, and all of them particularly exciting, particularly interesting. But over the next few years is when we're going to start to see some more of those kind of unusual releases. I'd love to be able to tell you what's coming next because I do know there is something that's in the works, but I can't reveal too much. But any of our more kind of unusual.
Reveal a little bit.
I can tell you nothing, unfortunately. But hopefully it will be with us not before too long. But you've seen unusual wood types at this point. You've seen chestnut, you've seen Hungarian oak, etc. What we're likely to see in future as well is different distillates. So we've been experimenting with different mash bills and different distillate types down in the micro distillery. And obviously we have to wait for those to come of age and to be ready. But I'd say over the next few years, some of those will start to be ready to be bottled and drunk. So there's nothing but exciting things to be coming from the Method and Madness brand.
Excellent. Whenever you're talking about Irish distillers, we can't not talk about Jameson. It's really been a phenomenon in many ways. They make up about 80% of Irish whiskey sales nearly would be internationally is Jameson, and it's just a phenomenon, really. How did it get so big?
It's interesting. I was literally talking to a colleague of mine who's been with the company for a lot of years, and he was saying, he remembers the days where Jameson just wasn't a whiskey people really thought about. You'd maybe be selling 3 or 4 cases of another whiskey to a customer, and they might buy a bottle or 2 bottles of Jameson. So to see where it's grown to now is phenomenal. But it really kind of started in the 90s. The guys in the marketing department made the decision that they were really going to get to work on a ground level and start recruiting bartenders and start trying to get people behind the brand. And it's just kind of snowballed since. We've gone from selling about 400,000 cases in a year, to selling 8 million cases. Like it's breathtaking,
Incredible.
And I mean, like it's funny. I was talking to another friend of mine, and he'd said that he'd been traveling recently, well, a couple of years ago throughout Asia, and he said he'd always loved to see Jameson in a bar, because you might go into a bar somewhere and not recognize anything on the shelf, but you just want to have a drink, and he'd say, well, at least there'd always be a bottle of Jameson there, So you'd be hard pressed to find a bar now that wouldn't have a bottle of it on the shelf.
It certainly, and the way they've done the sort of promotion of the whole thing, the GMO and ginger, it's just it sounds good when you say it. It tastes good. Justin and I differ in this. Justin's a big cocktail guy, right? I'm a bit more of a purist. he loves all the umbrellas and all, but just in terms of marketing, it's a fabulous piece of marketing, GMO and ginger, because it sounds good. It's sort of alliterative, and it tastes fabulous. And I think Jameson is one of those whiskies at home. Lots of people kind of overlook it a little bit, because they're so used to it, and they look at all the exciting new brands and new expressions and so on and so. But when they go to a bar, somebody will just say Irish whiskey, and they automatically get a Jameson. Again, it's one of those ones that people kind of just have. It's a bit like how you take your tea. It's there. And Jameson is probably a significant reason why Irish whiskies are doing so well internationally.
Yeah, I think the familiarity of it is something that people really appreciate. Like it's been around for a very long time. It hasn't changed. It's a great whiskey. I think one of the reasons it's probably so successful as well is obviously marketing is a big part of it, and the guys have done a fantastic job in getting into new markets and introducing people to the brand. But it is just a really versatile whiskey as well. I mean, so many people will drink it with ginger ale and lime, and that's a fantastic way to enjoy it. But you can drink it neat as well. Like, it is a whiskey that doesn't need to be mixed. It's fantastic just on its own, or you can make it into a cocktail. And I think having that versatility is probably one of the reasons it's been so successful. So we would never say to you, here's Jameson, you have to drink it with ginger ale and lime, or you have to have it with ice, or you have to have it neat. You can have it however you like, and it'll be enjoyed anyway.
Exactly. And I think because it's not a massively punchy flavor, it hasn't got anything to. It's not Marmite, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
it's a very sort of middle of the road, steady, safe pair of hands whiskey. It's because it's got that versatility. The cold brew came out recently, the coffee, and I know a few people that are like, no, it's like a coffee liqueur. I actually quite like it, and I'm not a huge coffee fan. I prefer tea, but it's nice. I like it. I think it's well put together.
Yeah, it's something a bit different. And I think it probably is a natural kind of fit for Jameson as well. So it is definitely, if you don't like coffee, I would say you're probably not going to like it, because it is very much, with that intense kind of coffee flavor. And where it differs from liqueur is it's not overly sweet either. It wouldn't be comparable to the likes of the usual coffee liqueurs you would get, which you would, make into maybe an espresso martini or a white Russian. It doesn't have that sweetness to it. So I suppose, it would probably appeal kind of more to the coffee purists than, the likes of a regular coffee
latte
liqueur.
drinker. The sort of latte drinker.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's a great product. But I think, yeah, definitely it's for people who really like coffee and really like whiskey. But you're a purist, so maybe you've probably tried it neat. I like it just on its own, but I've seen a lot of people get quite creative with it as well. When we originally trialed it before it was actually released, when we let bartenders try it, they just wanted to get their hands on it because they had a million ideas of what they could do with it. And I think that's the sort of product that it lends itself to. It's one that you really give it to a bartender and let them come up with something really creative.
Are you doing Belfast Whiskey Week, Joe?
Yeah, we'll definitely be involved again. Yeah, so we took part with Belfast Whiskey Week in July there, which was fantastic. I think I remember I was chatting to you about PARS, Marty. But yeah, I will definitely be involved again this year. It's a fantastic opportunity for us to talk about our brands, and just based on how successful and the kind of feedback was from it last year, I think would be daft not to get involved. I think it's a fantastic operation.
Yeah, I think it's a credit to Paul. It really is. Now, there's a new single cask being released at the Friend at Hand on Friday.
Yeah.
Give us a wee insight into what it's like.
So we're going to be launching another single cask for the Friend at Hand, and for anybody who's listening and isn't familiar with the Friend at Hand, this would be Belfast's one-of-a-kind Irish whiskey shop / museum. Absolutely fantastic. It's run by a publican called Willie Jack, who would be well known in Northern Ireland for being behind the Duke of York, the Harp Bar, Dark Horse, and I think probably about 3 years ago he opened up a whiskey shop, and he always maintained that he was only going to sell Irish whiskey. So he's a guy with a real passion for Belfast, passion for history, and passion for Irish whiskey. So we've done a number of different single cask releases with him. So I think our first one we did a PARS, and we did a 14-year-old PARS single cask. We've done a Redbreast. We've done a 25-year-old Redbreast for him. And this year we did something a bit different. So he's going to be getting a Irish oak matured whiskey. So it's an 18-year-old which began its life in American ex-bourbon barrels, and then underwent a secondary maturation in Irish oak. And then we would have done a bit of a tasting with myself and Billy Layton, our master blender, and with Paul, the manager of the Duke of York, and he would have selected this cask. And it's absolutely fantastic whiskey. So very few people will have tried it at this point. So I'm really looking forward to Friday. So it's going to be myself and Kevin O'Gorman, who has just taken over from Brian Nation. He's our new master distiller, so he'll be joining me on Friday to do a bit of a chat. So we're going to talk a little bit about the history of the bar. We're going to talk a little bit about Irish oak, and then we're going to do a bit of a tasting of the whiskey as well.
Lovely stuff.
Excellent. Lovely stuff. Joe, thanks for joining us, and stay safe. Keep that beard going.
Will do.
Because Justin's always looking to see for a transplant,
Keep drinking the whiskey. I think the whiskey has something to do with it.
All right.
Hair growth.
I think so too. Thanks, mate. Take care.
Thank you.
All right, guys. All the best.
Bye-bye. Is Joe Magowan there, and Maurice standing by. He's ready to tell us all about these lovely Christmas gifts that he has sourced for everybody. What on earth's that all about? Joe Magowan's some fella, isn't he?
He is. He's a really, really nice guy. He got that job a few years ago, and I think really what happened was he got the job, and just as Irish whiskey kind of went and exploded, so he sort of hit the ground running. But he's really sort of settled into it. He's become a real recognised face about Irish whiskey now, and a nice guy to chat to, very easy to talk to, very easy to approach.
Yeah. William McClanahan was saying he does have the cold press, the cold brew there.
The cold brew.
Pardon me, and he says it needs ice. It definitely needs
ice. I agree. I think that's exactly what it needs. It's 30%, so it's not a whiskey, but it's not really a liqueur. As I think he was alluding to, sort of your Tia Maria type stuff when he was talking about the liqueurs, and it's very sort of sweet and a little too sweet for my palate anyway. But this is a lot more of a milder coffee. It's not big punchy coffee heavy. It's nice. You'd like it. You would like it. I think you would really like it, actually.
I do like things like that there. Is it something like Sheridan's then, or better than Sheridan's? Is it? Yeah.
Oh, it's better than that. It's better than that.
Okay, I know where everybody is tonight, even though we're in double digits in the viewers. Somebody says, Gary and I, Mark says, Gary and I tuned in between fights. Is there a big fight on tonight or something like that?
Anthony Joshua is fighting Pulev.
I'm away here. I'm away.
No, put it like this: the night he fights, Tyson Fury, I might be away because I want to see that. I think Tyson Fury will probably do him actually, which I wouldn't have said 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Well, remember to comment, like, and share for us. What about these Christmas gifts then?
Well, I've scoured the internet and I've looked at some stuff that I think people might like. Now, obviously, the whiskey drinkers always end up with two presents, right? There's two versions of presents. It's like your mother-in-law or your sister-in-law will buy you a bottle of Black Bush, or what they do is they see a whiskey tasting kit with whiskey stones in it, right? What I've must have about 6 sets of them, and at no point have I ever put a chilled stone in my whiskey. There's never once have I ever thought to myself, you know what that whiskey really needs? It could do with a lump of granite that's been in the freezer for 6 months put in it. It's never entered my head. But people keep buying these things. Right? So I actually, while I was doing this, I actually saw one where it said that they could get you whiskey stones with your name engraved on them. Why? What on earth would you do that for? Anyway, so there's no whiskey stones.
I can think of the reason. That's when you choke on it and then they do the autopsy, they can find out your name.
Okay, fair enough. It's like a dog tag. No,
Yeah.
so yes, whiskey stones. I don't know anybody that has ever used them. People buy them, but it's only because it's a gift. It's only a present.
Now, it looks like the Armagh Mummers are on the front of this record label there. Do you see the people? Or are we starring in the Christmas edition of The Wicker Man?
Well, this is the greatest hits of whiskey volume 1. Now, they've kind of went for the whole Sex Pistols look with this. It's a very punk-looking thing. Now, this is £100 from firebox.com. And it's 10 different miniatures, 50 millilitres or 5 cl miniatures. It's got a bourbon, a 14-year-old single malt Irish, an Islay, a Speyside, etc., etc. But I thought it looked pretty good. I think that looks pretty, the packaging looks pretty decent to me. That's a nice present. That would be nice.
Yes, it would. It's an LP. What kind of money's in that? Where do you get your hands on that then, Murray?
As I say, it's £100, so it's not cheap. And you get it at firebox.com. But, they'll have sourced the whiskies and they'll be good whiskies.
Well, this goes back to something Frank Hearn said. He says, I think it's great to see Irish whiskey growing in development as it is, but it's sad to see the ordinary bloke on the street being priced out of tasting so many of them. Well, this is a way of tasting loads of them. You get to taste 10 of them, which for a tenner each, which is pretty cheap, pretty reasonable.
It's not bad, but whenever Frank's talking about the bottles, I was talking about at the start, where you're talking £200, £250, £400, £700. Come on, guys. There's only so many people that can afford to do that, and I know there's lots of people do the collecting. I have a bit of a collection myself of stuff that I have. I try and have one that I can open and want to collect. But I mean, just at those prices and the amount of them that's coming out that are at the premium range, just there's not too many guys who are going to be getting those. And the problem with the bit at the sort of entry level, I mean, people mostly buy bottles of Black Bush, £22, £24, right? If they're going to spend £35, that's a bit of a treat. They think to themselves, that's an extra 10, 12, £14. This better be worth it. And they might do that every so often. But once you start going the way up, and there's more and more of these coming, it becomes a bit of an exclusive boys club,
Now, somebody wants to know, Barley wants you to name a few in your collection, Marty.
I have quite a lot of the Dunvilles range, I have to say, because I'm a big fan of Dunvilles. I have all of the colognes so far, the experimental casks. I have some old bottlings from a couple of really nice ones from Cooley. The pride of my collection is I have a bottle of Old Cumber from way back in the 1950s, which is the label's perfect, the fill level's perfect. I have, let me think. I have a couple of the Silkies, a couple of old Bushmills, a couple of old Powers. So I have a collection, and it's a reasonable size, but I know guys that have massive collections, and that's you need deep pockets for those.
No, Marty, you're being very conservative there. You're in your man cave there, and if the camera slipped, it would look like you were in a distillery or nearly the Three in Hand in Belfast.
Now, Justin, I'm talking about the ones that I've collected, not the ones that I'm drinking.
Okay.
The ones that I'm drinking are all here.
Yeah.
Now, I think I last counted, I have 120 bottles there.
That's a lie. There's more than 120 bottles. I lost count when I got there about 250. You're a liar. You're a liar.
Well, but I guess there's quite a lot. Most of those are open. The ones that I'm collecting are up. They're safely plugged away, and I don't include them in. I don't include them in this lot. You know.
Okay. What's next in the gift guide then?
Now, again, this is a what's in the wood. Now, this is $54.95 from the Whiskey Exchange. Now, these are 6 30ml miniatures. But what this does is it's to explore the effect of wood on the whiskey. So what you do is you get the bottles and you read about the different casks that it's been sat in. So it's got, for example, an American oak. It's got a Mizunara cask finish from Japan, and it'll give you different tasting notes and different comparisons. So it'll highlight what they'll have done is they'll have picked out what they think highlights the elements of those casks. Now you have to remember that casks contribute probably about 70% of the flavour, maybe more. So what would you keep it in, and obviously for how long you keep it there is important. So this is to highlight the differences. So I thought it was interesting. It would be a nice thing if you were going to get it. It would be maybe there'd be a bit of an appreciation of just what the wood does to the spirit.
Okay, I've captioned this. We've got wood. Do you think Facebook will catch on and know what that means in English slang? Probably not. So there you go.
We'll put it like this: they tried to bar us one time for nudity. I don't know what you're doing and below that desk there. I can't see. But
oh boy, I don't know. Boy, it takes a biscuit. Let me see. We've got to say hello to a couple of people before we do the rest of these things tonight. What have we got? We better say hi to Geordie Burke. Hello to you, Prince Edward Island. Better say hello. They've got plenty of wood out there because they're a lumberjack and they're okay, aren't they? And Prince Edward Island.
You'll get us barred.
I won't.
You'll get us barred for that kind of.
And Frank Heron says, thanks for the answer, Marty. I agree. Buy 2, keep 1, drink 1, but don't tell the wife. No, it says makes it rather expensive. It does indeed. And
it does. The thing is, there's a reason a lot of these bottles at £200 and stuff sell out so quick. It's because people want collections, and the likes of the Middleton Very Rare that was released this year, 2020, it's already been up about 50% in price in the auction sites because there's so many people looking at it, and it's just disappeared. So people are buying them to have them to make money on them. Is what they're doing. And if I'm totally honest, I have a few upstairs that I know or I consider that will be worth money in the future. So it might seem expensive as an initial outlay, but in the back of your head, you're thinking, well, if it doubles in price, I've got the other one for free, and that's a way of looking at it too,
Exactly. And Dale McDonald saying, good evening. Hope everyone had a grand week. Not too bad a week. They're going very quick. Now, we've got about 15 minutes left.
Well, I had a good week. I had a good week, Justin, because I passed my general certificate of distillation. Yo!
Are you trying to say you were just bluffing before this?
I put it like this. Normally people do this. They work in the distillery, and they do it for a year. It's a lot of the time under tuition. I signed up for it in July and did it myself and passed in what 3.5, 4 months. So I'm actually quite chuffed with myself, you know. So.
You must have had a lot of the knowledge base before that, and of course you do have as many bottles as some micro distilleries, so you'll go far with that. So listen, I maybe had the wrong image up there. I've got whiskey in a jar. What's that all about now?
Aye, now see this is actually quite an interesting thing. I like this. This is from hearties.co.uk, and it's whiskey sticks. Okay, now they're £5. I think they're maybe £5 each, but you can buy, you obviously can buy multiple ones. Now what they are, they're seasoned bits of oak that you can pop into a jar or a bottle or whatever you want to do, and actually age your whiskey yourself at home. So what you could do is you could take a bottle of, I don't know, white label Bush, right? And pour half of it into another bottle, put one of these in, leave it there for a couple of weeks, maybe a month, and then try it and see what the difference is. Now, there's lots of people who turn around and say, oh, why don't you just go and get a bit of oak from an oak tree in one of the forests around here or whatever. But you can't, because it's not seasoned. If you put that in, all you'll get is the very green, astringent, very harsh chemicals. It's not going to do the same job. So this is actually quite interesting. You can basically age your own whiskey at home and give it some colour and bring out some of the chemicals that are going to come out of the wood. So I think that's a bit of fun. Have a bit of an experiment with it.
Yes, it's a good idea. They do look like clothes pegs. You do know that, don't you?
I do. Yes, I am aware of this. They're not there for the aesthetics, Justin. They're there for a practical reason.
Now, Geordie has said, did anybody notice Vic Cameron's vid this week? He's tasting every day like an advent calendar. It's very good, that, actually. But we're doing the same, Marty. We're doing the same on Instagram, aren't we?
I am doing Sláinte Claus. Sláinte, as in Irish for cheers. Sláinte Claus is an Instagram instant reel 15-second whiskey review. Now, it's 15 seconds, and it takes me about half an hour to film it every night because I keep making a right pig's ear of it every time I do it. Hello, it's me, Sláinte Claus, with another... and start again. I start again. So, no, I'm doing Sláinte Claus, but no. Vic's reviews, honestly, Vic knows his stuff about whiskey. That's why he's worked on it for 30 years. So if he doesn't know his stuff by now, then it's a very sort of rum do for him,
I know, it is. It's good. Geordie's saying he's seen ours too, and he's seen the ones with the Santa beard on. They are actually fabulous, those ones with the Santa beard. I do enjoy them myself. I don't know where you managed to get all the different Santa beards from, because they certainly make me chuckle every night. That's what you do. I'm going to show you what they look like just in case. What do you see? This is Marty with the Santa beards on Irish Whiskey Review. By the way, we've got 225 of them. That's the same as the Break Horsebrow of my car followers, but we're following 512. We want more of you to follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and remember to comment, like, and share everything you see tonight, because it helps us help you, and it tells all your friends as well. Now, that's Instagram. Where are we heading next with these gifts, Marty?
We're now heading to single malt toothpicks. Now,
close pegs and toothpicks. I mean, it's better than socks, isn't it? It's better than socks.
Better than socks or whiskey stones. Now, this is from uncommongoods.com. And I don't see them selling too many of these, if I'm honest. They're extra large toothpicks that have been soaked in an Islay malt and then dried. So they're gently infused, Justin. That's how they say it. It's gently infused. it says you have to use them within a year. You get 4 glass bottles with 12 each, right? 12 in each of them. So you get 48 of these. They're £27.30 plus postage. So they're not just toothpicks.
You buy a bottle of whiskey for that kind of money.
Personally, I would buy the wee flossers. You know the wee flossers you get for £2.
Yeah.
Buy them, and then buy a bottle of Lafroig. And if you want to dip your little flosser in the Lafroig, feel free. And there you go. And it'll last an awful lot longer than 48 toothpicks.
Yes, but they're good, ready to go.
I think they're aiming for a specific market.
Yeah, they are indeed.
It's the thing about it is it's a gift, and so I kind of thought, well, it's something that if somebody was buying for a whiskey, it's better than whiskey stones. So that's that.
I think we do need to treat ourselves this year. Michael Matthews is saying he must buy some for the taxi driver or the bin man or the postman. You're absolutely right, Michael. It would make a lovely gift for those kind of people. Lovely. Now, we've got a couple more gifts to get through. Make sure you get your mentions in with 9 minutes left of the show tonight. Comment, like, and share. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Marty, what's this gift? What is this? This looks like the mummers again with guns.
No. This is the Dead Rabbit. Now, for anyone who doesn't know what the Dead Rabbit is, it's a bar in Manhattan. And it was set up by 2 guys from Belfast, Jack McGarry and Sean Muldoon. They were in the Merchant Hotel, and they went to New York, ended up setting up a bar, and it's been voted the best bar in the world a few times. Now, this is a book, Mixology and Mayhem. It's actually a graphic novel telling the story of how it all came about. So I'm a big fan of graphic novels. My only problem is they're extremely expensive. The only people that can afford them is the homeless guy that sits beside the crowd. He sits and reads them all the time. I keep asking him, could he give me them as his cast-offs? But no, they are. It's like a graphic novel. It's £18, and you get it from various bookshops. But I thought that looked pretty slick, you know.
Yeah, it does. It does look good, and it's pretty affordable, and it lasts forever, and it looks good on your coffee table beside your whiskey bottle and glass with your whiskey stones in it as well. It does. Now, we've a couple more gifts to get through. Remember to comment, like, and share. Say hello, and we'll give you a shout out wherever you are in the world. We've got viewers all around the world, including in this place where they spell whiskey wrong.
Aye. Well, they spell it right, but just wrong for them. They spell it wrong all the time, and then they get it right, and then somebody gets the sack. But no, right? No, the last one. This is actually a project that I like. This. I think this is a good thing. It appeals to me on a whole nerd level, on a whiskey nerd level, and all of that. This is the Lost Distilleries. Now, what this company have done is back in 2012, they got a team together, including Professor Michael Moss. Michael Moss wrote The Making of Scotch Whisky, which is one of the most researched and detailed book about the history of Scotch. And what they did was they got a list of 100 plus distilleries that have closed. They went through them to see which ones the names of are available to license, that they could buy the name of them, or they would have the name registered. And what they did was then they went through all the archives and got as many sort of primary sources as they could get to figure out how that whiskey was made. They used 10 key elements. They used peat, water, barley, the region, the mash, the yeast, the still, the heat, the wood, and the era that it was set in. So these are all the whiskey regions, and they've got 7 different expressions. Now, there's one from Islay, there's one from Campbelltown, a couple from Speyside, a couple from the Highlands, etc. Now, I want to just focus on one to give you an idea of what it is I mean by what they've done. They brought out the Campbelltown one, the Dallaruan. Now, Campbelltown, and I have a book here on the history of Campbelltown. because that's the kind of nerd I am. Okay, can everybody see? Going to that, me, Justin, going to the history of Campbelltown. Okay, so Campbelltown, which is just across the water from me, actually, at one point was known as Whiskyopolis. So they picked a distillery that they could license, and that was the Dillon, which opened in 1825 and shut in 1925. And in here it lists all about, the distillery and who opened it and what they were doing and so on and so forth. And then we went to the likes of Alfred Bernard, who we've mentioned before. He went around all the distilleries. And then here he gives it his listing, and in here he tells you about peat's only used for drying the malt, how big the stills are, the pot stills holding 2,750, 1,886 and 850 gallons respectively. The wash charger is placed in an elevation, blah, 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 blah. So they went around and got all of these different facts, all of these different sort of primary sources. Then, I imagine this took quite a while to do. They tried to recreate the whiskey as best they could. Now, I assume that you're probably going to say, well, how do they know what it tastes like? Well, that's always open for interpretation. But like I always say, whiskey's about buying into a story. Now, if, for example, that Dillon, if there's a bottle of it in existence, and probably not, there may be or there may not be, but if there is, for you to sample that, for you to actually taste that, is going to cost you thousands of pounds. This way, you're getting academic knowledge, you're getting people who have spent a lot of time. I mean, this is a project 8 years in the making, to give you their best estimation of what it would have been like. Certainly a character of what it would have been like. And these bottles, I think, I haven't wrote this down, but I think they're about £40. So you're getting a whole history, you're getting a story, you're getting to buy into something that's a little bit different.
They look fantastic, Marty. They look absolutely fantastic.
I've tried a few of them. I was over in Scotland and I was in Edinburgh, and I picked up a couple of miniatures of them, and I tried that Dillon, and that's lovely. That's a really good whiskey. I promise you, that's a really good whiskey. It's got a beautiful mouthfeel, really nice finish. So that I would recommend. And as I say, you're buying into a story, so you're getting a lot of story there, because you can pick up books like this on the history of Campbelltown, read up on it, read up about the whole thing, and then taste it, which was not to like. It appeals to lots of things for me, that.
It does indeed. So we're going to wrap it up here tonight. Lots of people saying lovely things. What a unique idea, the Lost Distilleries. It is, yes, it's like the Lost World. Trevor Watson said another good evening as well. And, a bit of a different show this week, because we've done 3 sections to it this week and given you lots of ideas for Christmas. Joe Magowan from Dillon Bass was absolutely fantastic. And the news stories, well, they beggar belief, some of these news stories. If you've missed them during the week, if you see any news stories and you want us to cover them, just message the page, message Marty, message me. It's best to go to Facebook and messages, or YouTube, or even an Instagram. Hit share, the little arrow thing like that there, and that'll send it to us, and you can type at Irish Whiskey Review, and that'll get through this. And then that saves Marty and me working so hard during the week, and then we can enjoy a dram.
This started off, Justin, I didn't have to do any work. All it was me talking about water and all this kind of stuff. This has actually ended up, I started doing a bit of work. Now, how did that come about?
Here, listen, you've got a qualification out of them, and there's nothing better than an ology. Sure there isn't.
Well, I must be the only person in the UK that has a general a GCD and a blue badge. I don't think there'll be too many other people have it.
Yeah, and Jody Burke saying we should get Brent O'Carroll, Mrs. Brown, on as a guest. Yes, and William saying
only if I can beat them with a stick. Only if you're going to bring on Mrs. Brown. If you're going to bring on Mrs. Brown, it's only so I can batter her. That's it. The show is awful beyond belief. Beyond belief, it is crap.
I actually quite like it. I see them in the Paul O'Grady show at London Weekend Television a couple of years ago. Fantastic. William McLaren saying it's a Saturday night must now. That's about it for this week. Thank you very much. Enjoy. Speak to you next week. Do you have any idea what we're doing next week, Marty? No?
Not a clue, Justin. Not a clue. But we'll think of something. I'll think of something between now and then. Always do.
All right, we'll do. I'm on the radio. Catch me in Belfast 89, 2 to 4 tomorrow. Ask Alexa or Google or Siri to tune in Belfast 89 FM between 2 and 4, and you'll hear me talking to... Who is it tomorrow as my guest? I have no idea.
Justin, you're not on tomorrow, pal. You're on Monday.
I'm on Monday. I've got the days wrong. I'm on Monday. That's right. I don't do Sundays. Right. Good night. Catch you again soon. I don't even know what day it is. I don't even know what day it is. That's bad. Congratulations, Marty. That's bad. Good night.